it's Ashley at Bookish Realm, and I am back with another video. I feel rejuvenated. I feel ready to film. Listen, I took a week off. I needed that week, and now I feel like I'm kind of like back in action. So happy to be here. Although I've already posted a video, which was my 30+ book recommendations of books by BIPOC authors. So if you haven't checked that video out, it'll be linked in the card symbol above. And as always, while we're right here, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content from me, and hit the bell for notifications. That way you never miss out on any content. So as you can see from the title of this is my April reading plans, pretty much a staple here in the booktube community. This is not like an official TBR for me. I really don't do TBRs per se. I'm more inclined to talk about books that I'm currently reading and the things that are on my radar for the upcoming month. So there is no guarantee that I will get to all of this stuff. I don't work well with structured reading all of the time, so I like to have a little bit of wiggle room. So we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna jump right into it. Okay, so we could do the physical things that I'm currently reading first. I've actually been reading a lot more digitally and through audio than physically, but let's start with the physical things. So the first thing that I'm currently reading is The Unkindness of Ghost by Rivers Solomon. I absolutely adore Rivers Solomon's writing. They put out such great work. This is taking me a little bit longer because of the fact that I am taking my time with it. I'm only about 55 pages in, and that's because I'm annotating like a lot. I'm annotating this quite a bit, so it is going to take me a little bit long to read this one, but I don't even know how to really describe this book because I don't exactly know what is going on. It is a science fiction book. We have these individuals that are living on this ship, and the ship is broken down into different levels, and each level seems to have like their own sense of community, and it's almost as if like they're different countries is the best way that I know how to describe it, but they're so vastly different from each other, but they all coexist on this one ship. And this is from the perspective right now, the part that I'm reading is from the perspective of Aster, and Aster is a very, very interesting character. So I need to continue with this one. Like I said, the annotation process slows it up a little bit, but so far so good. And you will see Rivers Solomon make another appearance on this list. The next physical thing that I'm currently reading is The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Delilah Harris. This is one that comes out on, I believe, June 1st is the release date. Yes, June 1st is the release date. I am also annotating this one, so it is taking me a little bit of time. Not as heavy in my annotations as I am with in An Unkindness of Ghost, but with this one I am annotating and it's taking me a little bit longer. Plus, you know, with work and everything, physically reading has been a real struggle this past month. But I was reading this with Isabella. Isabella, please forgive me because she finished this. Isabella was like texting me the entire time and flew through it, and unfortunately I did not keep up with her. So I need to make sure that I do complete this one, and of course I'm going to get my review up before the release date. This is another one where it's kind of hard to describe exactly what's going on. So this is also from the perspective of the main character, and I'm forgetting her name because I'm awful with character names. However, she works in this publishing office. She is one of the only Black women that works within her department, and then another Black woman comes and she instantaneously feels this sense of solidarity because two Black women working in publishing that is predominantly white, you feel some type of like kindred spirit vibes going on there. And this is interesting because it's not what I think our main character has in mind in terms of what she thinks this other woman is going to be to her, in terms of them both being Black and working in predominantly white spaces. It seems some weird things are going on here, and it does have Get Out vibes to it. I know that this has really been described as Get Out meets The Devil and Prada. Is that the name of the movie? I believe that it's the name of the movie with Anne Hathaway was in that, and I know it was actually a book as well. But yes, it's been described as that, and I can kind of see that mashup. But this actually has been receiving a lot of mixed reviews, and I'm very interested in seeing how I'm gonna feel about it coming out of it, because there's a couple people that I really trust in terms of what reviews they give, and they have not been happy with the outcome of this book. But I think that this one has been really anticipated on the publishing end. Like, it went to a serious bidding war. So I wonder if it's going to be down to who actually is reading the book and what they take from the book and why it may or may not work for certain individuals. But so far so good. I'm enjoying it, but I need to make some progress so Isabella and I can actually have a real conversation about what has happened in the confines of this book. Okay, so my Libby just updated on me and I got super confused as to what was going on. So there are a couple of things that I am currently listening to through my Libby app, and then I'm also going to go through what I'm listening to on my Hoopla app. But I'm currently listening to Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. We decided randomly outside of our monthly like Patreon buddy read, we just decided in the Discord that we wanted to read something else together. So we decided to read Little Fires Everywhere, and we're actually currently watching the TV show together. We did the first 2 episodes last week, and then we're doing the next 2 episodes this week. So I'm trying to make my way through the book just so like I'm not super spoiled. I don't mind the spoilers, but this is a really interesting one. It takes place in the 90s. It focuses on these 2 moms, and one is black, one is white, and Mia, who is the black mom, brings her daughter Pearl to this town in Ohio, and the oh gosh, the microaggressions that occur within the confines of this book as well as a TV show are so frustrating. Mrs. Richardson is the one who ends up meeting with Mia and ends up helping her like get a place to stay, and the families somewhat become intertwined with each other because Pearl gets to know Mrs. Richardson's kids, and Mia of course feels some type of way about that, and I get why she feels some type of way, but I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it. But there are some secrets that are being revealed right now. I'm actually, I believe, let's see here, I'm 73% of the way through, so I'm gonna finish this probably either by the time that this goes up or a day later. So basically within the week that this video will be posted, this book will be finished. I'm so surprised at the reveals that are coming out of this book right now. Not things that I really anticipated, but it's good. This is not the first book that I've read by Celeste Ng. I actually read her debut book, which is Everything I Never Told You. I read that when that first came out a while ago, and I was interested in picking this one up, but I never did, so I'm glad that we picked that one. And I have 2 more books that are kind of in my queue for me to listen to next on Libby. I'm not going to go through my entire Libby list this time, but there's 2 more that I am anticipating listening to within April for right now. They're like high priority, and the first one is Life After Death by Sister Souljah. This is technically the follow-up to The Coldest Winter Ever, which I've done a non-spoiler review, a spoiler review, and I've had a live show on my channel that was with me, Erica, Deidre, and Shane. So I'll make sure I link that in the card symbol above. I'll link both the review and the live show in the card symbol above. So we had planned to read also the Midnight books and then also Portia's book, but this one was coming out, which we didn't know until last year. So we're all actually reading this one so we could have a discussion about it. So this one's kind of high priority for me to listen to because I think we're going to try to have that live discussion in May of this year. I have heard horrible things about this one. I heard that it's not very good. I started seeing some early reviews come in from those who had arcs, and I'm not surprised that it's not good. It's interesting what Sister Souljah ended up doing with The Coldest Winter Ever. I think it is an important book to the Black community, but I think that some of the ideas and concepts that she had when writing that first book are not going to hold up in 2021, and I don't think that the writing in this one is necessarily good. I just had not seen anybody rave about this book at all. So I'm kind of going into it with low expectations. So it may work out in my favor going in and not expecting much out of it, but we'll see. But I just know, like, going in not to really think that I'm going to get much out of it. So the next one that's been on my list that I have not gotten to, and I had it checked out from the library for a while, but I never got to pick it up. So I decided that maybe I should just switch to the audio, and that is We Are Not Free by Tracy Chee. This is one that definitely has been on my radar. It is a National Book Award finalist, and this one specifically focuses on a tight-knit group. I believe it's 14 young Japanese American individuals who I think at the time of this book are living in San Francisco. They're second generation Japanese Americans, and this book takes place right after the start of World War II and the bombing of Pearl Harbor. So it focuses on how a lot of Japanese Americans were rounded up and put into internment camps, and it focuses on the experiences of these 14 teenagers. So as you all know, I read They Called Us Enemy, and I absolutely loved it. 5-star read, great nonfiction graphic memoir. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. And I'm glad that I read it because it's a lot of history that I think we're not necessarily taught in US classes about what happened to the Japanese American communities as a result of the internment camps. And as a matter of fact, I remember in my social studies books, like, getting a paragraph like this big about what happened when Japanese Americans were sent to internment camps. And I'm still baffled about that. I'm hoping that maybe history textbooks are a little different than they were when I was in high school. I don't really have faith that they are. So I am attempting to educate myself and definitely checking out and looking for more resources. And I of course came across Tracy Chee's book and could not resist picking it up. So those are the two books from Libby that I'm anticipating listening to rather quickly as we go into April. I have 3 books from Libro FM that I'm anticipating listening to. If you did not know, I do have a link. Don't feel obligated, but I do have a link that you can use if you're interested in Libro FM, which is a good resource for audiobooks, and they give back to independent bookstores. A link down below if you sign up. It's $15 a month, and if you sign up with the link that I have, you get your first 2 audiobooks for that price of $15 instead of just 1. So it's a great option. Like, if you use Audible, I think that Libro FM is also a good option because it is giving money back to independent bookstores. So I do use Libro FM quite a bit, and I have 3 books on Libro FM that I am really anticipating listening to come April. And the first one, of course, is Lost in the Everwoods by Aiden Thomas. I have not read Aiden Thomas's debut book, which is interesting because I heard that this is technically the first book that they wrote, but the first book that was released was technically their second book. So I hope that makes sense. I probably worded that very strangely, but this is the first book that they had written, but they held back on making this a debut book. And from my understanding, this is a Peter Pan retelling, and it is very different from Aiden's debut book. So I don't have any bias necessarily going into this one because I haven't read their debut book yet. I do have a copy of it, but I don't. And the debut book, if you didn't know, Cemetery Boys. I'm sorry, I keep saying their debut book and not saying what the title is, but it is Cemetery Boys. I have not read Cemetery Boys. I do have a copy of Cemetery Boys, so I don't know if I'll necessarily have that bias going in, but I've heard a lot of great things about Cemetery Boys. This is definitely different. I know there's been some conflict about how people have perceived this book and what they said about it, but I'm very interested in it. I like Peter Pan. I've read the original a long time ago, and maybe, you know, this will give a fresh take on the Peter Pan story. I don't know much about it. I'm not looking it up very intentionally because there was so much conflict surrounding this one that I don't want to make myself any more biased towards it than I probably already am. But it is on my list for Libro FM to listen to in April. The next one that I have on my list was one of my anticipated releases that I talked about a little bit in December of last year, and that is The Firekeepers Daughter by Angeline Boulley. I believe I'm saying her last name wrong, but this is one that I've heard wonderful things about. I heard that this is a heavy book. It gets dark. It's not an easy read, and I didn't expect it to be an easy read just because of the description. Basically, it is about a young woman living on a reservation, and she doesn't feel like she fits in. She meets this hockey player, but she feels like there's something off about this hockey player, and then she witnesses a murder, and then she gets pulled into working with the FBI using her chemistry skills and trying to figure out exactly what happened. Especially there's like this new lethal drug that they are experimenting with, I believe, something along those contexts. This is one that I know, like, from people that I trust, they have really enjoyed it, so that's one that I'm really looking forward to picking up. And the last one that I have on my list from Libro FM is How Beautiful We Were by Mbolo Mbu. I read Mbolo's debut book, Behold the Dreamers, a few years back. Absolutely loved it. Beautifully written. It just is such an interesting look at immigration, the American dream. Phenomenal book. If you've never read it, check it out. So with this one, it's actually set in a fictional African village, and the people who live in this village are essentially living under fear, environmental damage. They are getting sick because a American oil company has come in, and the toxins from them establishing themselves within this village or in the surrounding area has infiltrated their water supply. Children are getting sick. I'm sure somewhere along the lines the Americans are saying that they'll clean it up and they'll fix things, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of commentary about this and the lack of respect and regard that the Western world has sometimes for other parts of the globe, and how we are very self-centered individuals, which we are. I live in America. I am part of the West and very self-centered part of the globe, and I think that this may delve into that a little bit. Okay, and then I only have but two things from Hoopla. One I actually am technically currently reading and probably will be finished with the day that I am filming this video, and that is Unfinished Business by Christina C. Jones. This is the second book in, I don't know what the name of the series is, but the first book, it was Strictly Professional, which I really enjoyed, so I decided to go ahead and pick up the second one, and this focuses on a couple, and that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to tell you anything about the second book because it kind of spoils the first book, but it does focus on this couple. The two of them end up meeting at a law firm. There's this instantaneous attraction to each other, but of course they have to navigate working in their professional boundaries, and this is the follow-up to what had happened in the first book. I think I'm actually going to end up enjoying the second book a little bit more than the first one because of some dynamics that are going on between the characters, and I can't really say anything, but so that's the first one that I have on my list from Hoopla. And the second one is Dirty Love by Kenya Wright. This is actually one that I am buddy reading with Heather, Tamika, and Izzy. We decided to read this one because I was just on a live show on Tamika's channel, and we had read Dirty Kisses by Kenya Wright, which is the first one in the series. And this is a dark romance. It's a mafia romance, and it is between a black woman and this Russian mob enforcer. And I thought that the first one was a solid read. It was like a 3.5 star read for me. I'll talk about that one a little bit more in my review. I think that there were some elements in that book that really worked, and I enjoyed it for the most part. So I instantaneously had chucked out the second one, and then through us kind of talking on the live show, we decided to read the second one. So that is the second book and the final book that I have on my Hoopla. Okay, so then now I'm going to go through some physical books really quickly. I have a very hard time now reading physically because I'm working during the day. At night, you know, it's probably a lot of just time with me and the little one, so then I only have a little bit of time to read physically in between the time that I get her to bed and I get stuff ready for the next day, and then it's time for me to go to sleep because I have to get up early. So my physical reading has slowed down a lot, but there are a few things that I kind of do want to start and make my way through. May not finish in April, but I at least want to finish them within the next couple of months. The first one is Kingdom of Souls, and you're probably confused because in one of my other videos I said that I was reading the second book, which is Reaper of Souls, which is true. However, I don't feel confident enough in what I remember from this book to read Reaper of Souls. I read this 2 years ago and my memory is not functioning as well as I need it to function. So I initially was going to read it, then I was like, no, I'm just going to hop into the second one. And I'm going back to that initial thought. I should have went with my gut feelings. So I'm going to reread this one and then I'm going to go back and start Reaper of Souls again. I'm going to get a physical copy. I do have a digital copy of Reaper of Souls, but I think I need to read this first. This needs to happen. If you have not read Kingdom of Souls, definitely check it out. It is so different from Children of Blood and Bone. People compare it to Children of Blood and Bone, and I don't know why. Every YA fantasy written by a black person that may have some West African vibes to it is not Children of Blood and Bone. So there you go. But I'm excited to read it because I did annotate this one so much, so I'm excited to go back and look at my annotations. Okay, so the next 3 books I have are all art copies that I need to get to. The first one is Island Queen by Vanessa Riley. This is a book about Doll. Her real name is Dorothy Kerwin, and she was born into slavery in the Caribbean, and she ends up being able to buy her freedom for herself, her mother, and her sister from her Irish planter father, who's also slave owner. So she does that, and then she becomes a extremely wealthy individual. And this is Vanessa Riley's novelization of her life. And I'm interested in this because Vanessa Riley is known for writing historicals. She's a black author, and this one definitely had my eye. I believe that this was also on my list of my anticipated reads for 2021. It is very long. It is over 500 pages, but I'm hoping that I learn a lot by reading this one. The next one is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. This one comes out on August 31st. This one, Island Queen, doesn't come out until July, but this one is, I'm sure, going to be so intriguing. Stephen Graham Jones is such an interesting human, great writer. I really enjoyed The Only Good Indians last year, which was the one that I read, the only book that I've read from him. I did start Night of the Mannequins, but that one really freaked me out. And I don't know if I can go back to it. I need to go back to it. But like, I got 30% through and I was like, this is scaring the crap out of me. But I do want to start My Heart is a Chainsaw. It is about a woman by the name of Jade who is having some really eerie vibes. It says in the description that she feels like she's at the beginnings of a slasher film where there are tourists who are visiting her town and they're going missing, and then there ends up being this conflict between the residents and the people who are coming into the town. So I'm interested to see like what he's going to make commentary about, because I feel like with Stephen Graham Jones, a lot of what he does in his writing, there is a message or a lesson to be learned about this. He is such a prolific horror writer. I think that he does some interesting things, and there was something that he did specifically with The Only Good Indians where it is the last woman standing, and he has very interesting and very particular ways in which he writes the last woman standing, as opposed to the way that you usually see it in horror novels as well as in horror films. So I wonder if he's going to bring that element again into this book. Completely fascinated by him as a human. He's just interesting. He's super interesting, but I am ready to pick this one up. And of course, the biggest one that I have here is Sorrowland by River Solomon. This one comes out May 4th of this year, and this is about a woman who gives birth to twins, and she decides to raise them away from the outside world, outside influence, but something about the community that she's from won't let her go away, and she makes this metamorphosis and this transformation into something that is pretty abnormal. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't really like to read too much into what River Solomon is doing with their books, because of the fact that I think that it's best to go in slightly blind and just let the story unfold. I did that with The Deep. I didn't try to understand it too much before going in. I'm kind of doing the same thing with The Unkindness of Ghost. I even did that with their novella, Blood is Another Word for Hunger. I went into that one fairly blind. So I skimmed the description of this one, so I don't know exactly what that metamorphosis is going to look like. I don't want to know. I just want to read it. And I know that this is one that is probably going to take me the whole month, because knowing River Solomon, I'm going to need to annotate this, and because of the writing style, it's going to take me a while to get through it. The next one that I have here is Angel of Greenwood. This is by Randy Pink. Randy Pink is also the author of Girls Like Us, which is one that I always recommend. This is one of my most anticipated books for this year because of the fact that it is covering the Tulsa riots. This year is the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa riots. It took place in 1921 on June 1st. This year, June 1st, 2021, it'll be 100 years since it. So this not only focuses on one main character, it focuses on two. One who is a follower of Booker T. Washington, and the other is a follower of W.E.B. Du Bois. So we're gonna have some conflict right there, because those are two very different ideologies when it comes to the advancement of the Black community. And I believe that the Tulsa riots do take place on page in this book, and then those two characters end up realizing that they have more in common than they, you know, don't have in common, because I'm sure we're going to see the conflict probably between the two of them first because of their separate ideologies. But then once the Tulsa riots happen, I think they're going to see that they have to have some type of common ground in order to make sure that they can help their community move forward. Because if you don't know anything about the Tulsa riots, I would encourage you to go to YouTube and type it in, and there are some excellent free documentaries that will tell you a little bit more about what happened. If you did not know, April here in the States, I don't know if it's anywhere else, but April here in the States is National Poetry Month. So I do have I Am the Rage by Dr. Martina McGowan, and this is a collection of poems that I believe is specifically based on the Black experience, and I'm really anticipating this one. I love that there's actually illustrations. I'm trying to find an illustration here. So there are small illustrations with the poems themselves, and then I actually was given a printout of the poem I Am the Rage. So this is exciting. I have not read a lot of poetry collections, but I think that I want to start reading a little bit more poetry, so I definitely will start with this. Okay, y'all, so those are the books that I plan on reading. I do have some graphic novels and comics that I plan on reading. Those usually I can't really talk about like in a reading plan type of video, because of the fact that I read comics as they come out each week. So I read a lot of single issues, and I don't want to talk about all of those because it's a lot of single issues that do come out in a week. So I just read them as I go. You can follow me on Goodreads to kind of see what single issues I'm reading within the month. I'm pretty much caught up on all of my single issues for the month of March. So I'm starting like with not a lot of back issues going into April. And there's a lot of good stuff that is coming out in April. Like I know we're getting the origin story of the new Batman in DC, and this Batman is Black. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for that miniseries. It's only going to be 4 issues, but I'm really anticipating and looking forward to that one. I also am reading a couple of like trades. The main one that I'm focusing on right now is one that I'm reading through Hoopla, and that is Tom King's run of Batman from Rebirth, and that's because I am looking forward to reading some stuff about the Joker War, which I don't want to go into a huge thing about what the Joker War was. It was an event that was done by James Tynion IV, which I am excited for because the Joker War is super referenced in Infinite Frontier right now, and I feel like I don't have as much knowledge about it. We got an introduction of a new character called Punchline, and Punchline to me low-key just feels like another version of Harley Quinn, but that's a discussion for a different day. I'll talk about that in my wrap-up. But I am reading that and his entire run, and Tom King's run is so long. It's like 10 volumes, but I'm currently reading the deluxe editions. so long, so freaking long, but I'm reading, like I said, I'm reading the deluxe edition, so I'm pacing myself through that. So that's one of the major comics that I'm working through, but I don't really have much else in terms of comics to tell you about, like, going forward in April. I am gonna be, or attempting to participate in a low-key challenge that's going on. It's been hosted by Shay, Tamika, and Izzy. I'll make sure I have all their channel information down in the description box below, but they are doing a 30 and 30 challenge. So for the month of April, they're challenging people to read 30 volumes of manga, so 1 volume a day, or just 30 volumes throughout the month. And I have a stack here that I'm gonna go through really quick. Like, I'm not gonna explicitly talk about what they are, but I just kind of want to show you what I have on my radar in terms of reading some manga. I don't know if I'm gonna get to 30. I'm gonna try my hardest to get to 30 because I love manga just as much as I love my comics and graphic novels. I'm not as well versed as the 3 of them, but I get a lot of recommendations from the 3 of them, so I'm excited. So the first 2 that I have here are Black Butler Volume 3 and Volume 4. I enjoy the first 2 volumes. I also have Volume 5, so this is probably a high priority. I have Spy Family Volume 1. This is one that Shay has talked about a lot on her channel, and she really likes Spy Family. I don't think we have that many volumes out, so I don't think I'm too far behind in Spy Family. We have Tokyo Ghoul. My friend Roxanne actually bought me the complete collection of Tokyo Ghoul, so I have all the volumes of Tokyo Ghoul, so technically I could read all of those and it count. But I've heard great things about Tokyo Ghoul. I heard that the art is really nice, the story is great, and I know that Tamika really loves Tokyo Ghoul. We talked about that, so looking forward to reading this. I have Haikyuu Volume 1, which I know Shay loves Haikyuu. I know Chelsea also loves Haikyuu. Actually, Chelsea bought me this copy of Haikyuu, so I'm looking forward to reading Haikyuu. Yona of the Dawn Volume 1. Shay and Izzy will kick my backside because I still have not read Volume 1, and they both adore Yona of the Dawn. I'm looking forward to it. I know that Shay is like way caught up, and every time I watch her videos and she talks about Yona, I'm like, dang, I have Volume 1 and I still haven't read Yona yet. So I do have Volume 1 on my radar. I have Night of the Ice on my radar as well. This is one that I started, I believe, in February, but I just didn't get a chance to finish it, and I'm liking it. It is a figure skating manga, and I wasn't anticipating liking it as much as I do, so I need to finish this one. I have The Devil's a Part-Timer. I have already read this volume, but it's been a while since I've read The Devil's a Part-Timer, so I want to reread this one, and I low-key want to start watching the anime again. This is an interesting manga, kind of weird in some ways, but I really enjoy it. And like I said, I have the first 3 volumes, so I could always just read the 3 that I have. I have Food Wars Volume 1 up here. I'm not going to be reading Volume 1 because I can't tell you how many times I've read Volume 1, but I was supposed to be rereading all of Food Wars to catch up because it is officially finished now. However, I kind of slowed down on my reread last year. I think on like my reread, I'm on Volume 8. I've read all the way up to like Volume 23 or 24, so I need to pick up and continue reading what I haven't read just yet because I have forgotten a good portion of this. Like, some of it I remember because it's just the gist of the story. I hope you like the bird ASMR stuff going on outside. It's great. I remember the gist of a lot of these stories, but some details I'm like, oh, I don't remember that at all. So it's been a good reread process, but I'm just holding this up as representation. And the last chunker that I have on this list to read, which technically I believe that this is 5 volumes, so I could just not fly through, but I can just read this one. This is the oversized edition of Attack on Titan. This is a colossal edition. This is volumes 1 through 5. I'm excited to read it. I've read Volume 1 of Attack on Titan. I've seen part of the anime. It is a good story, and these actually have some color pages to them, so I'm excited for that. But this is huge. You could kill somebody with this. I really don't want to tell you what Attack on Titan is about. I haven't told you what any of these manga are about, but Attack on Titan is, it's good. it's good. I think this is one that most people are familiar with anyway. All right, y'all, so those are my April reading plans. I hope you all have enjoyed. Let me know in the comment box below what you plan on reading in April. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button, hit that bell for notification. If you're looking for ways to support this channel, links are down in the description box below. And if you're looking for ways to follow me on social media, those links will be down in the description box below as well. And I will be back with another video soon. I am so amped now. Like, I feel good. I needed that break because now I feel refreshed, rejuvenated, and back in the game. All right, y'all. Bye.